Broadway. I won't quit till I'm a star on Broadway.
This big Broadway house on West 41st Street, which has had many names over the years, most recently the Nederlander Theater, and has been the scene of dozens of Broadway shows, and not that long ago the scene of the Tony Award-winning triumphant Lena Horne, The Lady and Her Music, right here, is now known as the Times Square Church and Non-Denominational Convention Center.
Yes, that is a piece of disheartening theater news, it's true, but it stands out sharply because it's one of the few pieces of disheartening news this very promising Broadway season.
Into the woods, who knows what may be lurking on the journey.
In fact, the Broadway theater appeared to be moving out of the woods this past season, one sign of which was the 10 Tony-nominated musical Into the Woods by veteran Broadway music man Stephen Sondheim.
A sweet young thing. He stopped, she turned, he looks, she grins.
And several Tony Awards for the very promising rookie Broadway songwriting team of Keith Herman and Barry Harmon and their intimate chamber musical, Romance, Romance. Beyond that, black theater was represented substantially and significantly through the musical The Gospel at Colonus, through Joe Turner's Come and Gone, a new drama by Pulitzer Prize-winning dramatist August Wilson, while his award-winning play Fences continued through from last season, and with Sarafina, a musical about and with the children of apartheid. Now, Sarafina came to Broadway from the Lincoln Center Theater. Theater from Lincoln Center was probably the theater miracle of the season. The dazzling and exuberant Lincoln Center production of Cole Porter's 1934 musical Anything Goes helped greatly in making Lincoln Center Theater a major force in the American theater. Its 3 Broadway-eligible plays earned it 18 Tony nominations this year. All this, Theater from Lincoln Center, an idea given up for dead just a few years back. Bernard Gersten is executive producer of Lincoln Center Theater and pretty much exemplifies the spirit of all those involved.
Every time anybody puts on a play, that's a nervy act and that's a risky act. And whether you put capital at risk or your ideas at risk or whether a playwright takes a chance with a director or with an actor, a whole series of risks are involved in the theater. And I think that the whole theater is a high wire act or a trapeze act. We're constantly leaving the bar and hoping there's going to be somebody there to catch us.
You've been good for me, to put it bluntly, all the years.
You're stuck with the old firm, Charlie. You're stuck with your friends.
It's where I work, Bob. It's what I do.
Feed the Plow by Pulitzer Prize-winning playwright David Mamet is another Lincoln Center salvo and is one of 4 Best Play Tony nominations this year. Happily, all 4 nominees, American plays. Speed the Plow, Joe Turner's Come and Gone, A Walk in the Woods, and the immensely fascinating M. Butterfly. M. Butterfly is a hugely theatrical play about sex and race and war and treason and confusion and self-esteem. And it stars John Lithgow.
I just was very excited about the audacity of the venture, just the nerve of all these people.
The wonderful nerve, huh?
Yeah. I was proud of myself for taking on this challenge, too. It just seemed, it was such a bold venture. We weren't doing it in regional theater, and we weren't doing it in workshop. It was geared from the very outset to be a drama for Broadway. And I think its success is extremely significant because I think it might fortify a few people who have some adventurous plans for Broadway.
The Tony nominees for Best Actress in a Play: Joan Allen, Blythe Danner, Frances McDormand, Glenda Jackson, and for Best Actor in a Play, Derek Jacobi, Robert Prosky, Ron Silver, and John Lithgow. Allison Fraser, Joanna Gleason, Judy Kuhn, Patti LuPone. And for Best Actor in a Musical, Scott Bakula, David Carroll, Howard McGillen, and Michael Crawford.
Without a doubt, the Phantom of the Opera himself is the best-known Broadway personage of this entire Broadway season. which makes it all the more startling that the Phantom of the Opera himself is, at the very same time, not at all well-known and even downright misunderstood.
He has to be an extraordinary man. He mustn't just be an actor with makeup on.
You expect to find him appealing, don't you, somehow?
Yes, I do, in the theater, not on the street. I would pay $50 to see him here. I don't want to see him around the corner.
Well, if the Phantom, in fact, actor Michael Crawford, walked a New York street, as he very often does, there probably would be no great thrill of recognition, and there certainly would be no cause for alarm.
I don't like you. If I like you, I take you. But I don't like you. Get out of my cab. And welcome to New York.
Yes.
The role of the Phantom of the Opera is not remotely a comic one, but the actor who plays the tormented composer so intensely is irrepressibly comic, as was clearly evident of A Quiet Afternoon in the upper reaches of Sardis.
I can walk to work and I can walk home again.
And no one knows who you are.
And no one knows who I am.
Well, I'm sure that somebody might say, oh, that's Michael Crawford. That does happen. It must happen.
My agent said that once. But he hasn't said that again in about a month or so.
Mr. Crawford's showbiz background is comedy, abundantly comedy. Why, a few years back, he was even voted the funniest man on British television. And then there were those movies.
There will never be happiness.
We must learn to be happy without it.
In the late 60s, he was a young romantic comic hero opposite Zero Mostel in A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Forum. And in the movie Hello, Dolly, he starred opposite Walter Matthau.
That's a foolish age to be at. I thought you were 40.
No, I'm 28 3/4.
And Barbara Streisand.
1, 2, 3.
Look! I'm dancing!
When I play comedy, I'm sure that I'm influenced by Buster Keaton, Harold Lloyd, and Laurel and Hardy, who are my greatest heroes. All these films, because I haven't made many films in between, because I worked in the theater for many years, you see these sort of little tiny legs running around in films, and there's in Hello, Dolly and Forum. But they were great experiences.
For Crawford, all work experiences are learning experiences, and that includes the work of others.
If it's played to its full, which is what Chaney did, he epitomizes what I'm saying about an artist loving his profession. He was passionate. He went to all this trouble in his mouth and his nostrils. He went into it in such a way that his love for that girl was extraordinary. Well, we all love great passion.
Turn your thoughts away from cold and feeling light.
Finally, it is, of course, Michael Crawford alone. Michael Crawford reaching deep down into his usually comic self to create the horror figure of the Phantom of the Opera in a performance that is neither comic nor horror, only intensely human.
It's to do with the great thing about love and sensitivity from his point of view. I can't stand from where an audience is. I stand from where I try to build the man and what he feels. And I just feel enormous love, enormous passion, caring, wanting. And I give as much of myself, my body, that I can give to those emotions.
Close your eyes, let your spirit start to soar.
Fascinating guy, but you know, I am still amazed by the fact that here is the most famous man on Broadway, and yet nobody knows him when he walks down
I know
the
that
street.
is a little strange, but he's an actor who likes being anonymous. Very strange. You know what's strange here is that you're not going to believe this, or maybe you will. The half hour's over.
I better, huh?
It's over.
Oh, say it isn't so. Come on.
I'm afraid it is, so we have to say goodnight.
Oh, this has been great. We hope you had fun joining us this evening, and don't forget to join us for the Tony Awards.
Yeah, we'll see you at the Tony Awards, and good night. Thank you.
Bye-bye. No, they're not ready. You like that? It was fun.
Story of